There's a huge problem because people are no, because
Yes.
Because people are testing. No, in the meanwhile, sorry. Because
There's two places, David. There's two places here. One here. You can sit here. This is space. Okay, the place.
This one. Just these two. Okay. Je fais le tour. Attends, voilà. Ah, sorry, yes.
Venez avec nous. Venez avec nous. Ne faites pas le cri, venez avec nous avec Roger.
Celui-là, et on fait un saut.
Ça ne fait que commencer.
Voilà.
Et lui, contrairement à moi,
Merci, Michel. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to make a start as much as anything because pardon? Apparently it's okay. Ellie, the microphone's okay? Okay. There we go. That should be better. I beg your pardon. Let me just unplug it. Regrettably, for a couple of years, due to COVID, I know it's been a very, very challenging year for all of us. Just to add as well that, and you'll hear from our guests, that while Europe has quite rightly been dealing with the COVID outbreak, there's been another older virus, one virus that we all know very, very well here, that has been accelerating, gaining ground despite the best efforts against it. We wanted to bring you all together in Brussels, so this conference represents the firing of a starting gun of a stalled race in this fight against anti-Semitism. So we want to hear your views because you are all very, very important members of a community. We want to have a really good discussion with you, but we also want to present some ideas. We have a 10 Commandments, which have already been submitted to the European Commission, but we want to run past you as well. And we have some various ideas, educational ideas, etc., which we'll be exploring. And tomorrow we have plenty of opportunity with parliamentarians to work out how we can take these plans forward through working groups and various parliamentary committees. Without further ado, it's my pleasure and honor to invite to address you today, our chairman, Rabbi Menachem Margolin, who made this conference possible. Thank you, Rabbi.
So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. It's really great to have you here in Brussels. Thank you very much for making the effort to come from your respective countries. I would like, first of all, to thank our partners, co-organizers, Mr. Joël Mergui, the president of the Consistory of France, the biggest Jewish community in Europe. And we're having with us Rabbi Shlomo Kovac, Chief Rabbi of the Orthodox Federation of Communities in Hungary. And it's also our privilege to have with us the real host of today, which is the President of the Consistory of Belgium. Since we are all guests of Belgium today, and we know that the Consistory is the most important Jewish organization here in Belgium, and having the president with us is a great privilege. So thank you very much, all of you. Earlier today, just before this conference, we had a press conference, and with your permission, I would like to share with you what I was sharing with the journalists who came this morning. I told them that basically we were not supposed to be here today, because anti-Semitism is supposed to be just a topic in schools, books of history studies. And actually also our fight to ensure freedom of religion in Europe is supposed to be also only just a topic in books, in school books. That used to be a time the Jews had to fight for their Jewish rights. And it is really a pity, and it's so sad to see in what kind of strange world we all live in. Because topics that are supposed to be learned in schools are not, and instead we live difficult times, and which basically it's a consequences to the fact that those topics are not learned in school. And I brought an example earlier today that on the 12th of October 1939, today we are the 12th of October, so I looked yesterday, what else happened the 12th of October? Very interesting. On the 12th of October 1939, this was the day when the Reich published their order to ban ritual slaughter in Poland. And this is even the original order. So, just the date of today, in 1939, this is when the order of the Nazis to ban ritual slaughter in Poland. And today, 82 years later, we are sitting here in Belgium, capital of Europe, a country that recently also banned ritual slaughter. And we're having here the president of the Consistory who are fighting strongly, but we're still here, and this is still the situation. In the 12th of October 1939, thousands of Jews were expelled from Vienna to Poland. And a year later, the order on the 12th of October, the Germans published the order to build the Warsaw Ghetto. And just a year later, 20,000 Jews were murdered on the 12th of October 1941. And here again, 82 years later, we are sitting here, all of us, Jews from across Europe, speaking about the exact same challenges. We see in front of our eyes how anti-Semitism is in our eyes year after year. And we see how there are so many Jews in Europe who do not believe that there is a future for our Jewish community here in Europe. And I told the journalists today, and I hope you will all agree, at least with part of what I would like to say, is that yes, we, the Jews, we do blame the politicians, we do blame the leaders, because this is in their power. I at least personally blame the politicians who prefer to perpetuate anti-Semitism for their own political interest. We see so many times that calls to ban ritual slaughter doesn't really come from animal rights point of view, but many times it's just a politician who somehow would like to promote himself and take anti-Semitism or freedom of religion or circumcision just as a way to get some publicity. And yes, I think that we should blame the politicians who does not do what they have to do to ensure our future. I think that we should blame publicly, with no shame, leaders who are content with declarations and participation in memorial ceremonies, but ignore the real problems of the Jewish people in Europe. Because I believe that my kids, and you as well, does not need to experience walking on the street and hearing these words, dirty Jews. I believe the Jewish people in Europe do not need to fight for our duty to consume kosher food. And I believe the Jewish people do not need to beg for security around Jewish institutions. This is not for our glory. This is not because we would like to feel important, but unfortunately security is important. Is important because this is the only thing in some countries that could ensure the safety and security of the Jews and their feelings to feel comfortable and safe to come to the synagogue. And I also believe that we as Jews, we do not need to watch how Nazi memorabilia, which represent the biggest trauma of the Jewish people, are just sold in public sale, and the buyers are people that for them Hitler is a source for an inspiration. No, I don't think this is right. I think we got used to it because it happens, but I do not think that this is right. So of course, yes, in the past year and a half, the world has been dealing with the coronavirus, and we all understand, but thanks God, vaccines and drugs were invented, and it seems that the world will soon succeed as it is in other challenges, overcoming this challenge. But unfortunately, anti-Semitism is still here. And this is not just a chronic disease that are under control, but it is a pandemic that continues to grow, and we all know in advance its results. So this is therefore, we were thinking about asking you all to participate in today's conference, because indeed in the last year and a half, and you could see it in the booklets that you have in your church, we spent a lot of time, energy, and basically most of our resources inside the Jewish communities. Last year we were sitting here in September, and we heard Mr. Mergui, for example, speak about the importance of the youth. So in the last year we invested a lot in youth, in students, in events for young people, in events for kids, a boot camp for young people. We were trying to do as much as we can inside the community to strengthen our community. But at the same time, we also knew that the time will come and the COVID will be something that won't take the full attention of the politicians. And this is therefore why we put together this program, which Mr. Benjamin, the director of EJA, will describe later, which we gave it the name, the 10 Commandments to Combat Anti-Semitism. And we've no doubt that if this plan will be implemented in Europe, we'll see a major difference. So we are going to ask you in the next days for our partnership in trying to implement this plan, additional plans, your ideas, our ideas. We should come together with all the ideas that we all think that can work, and together with the politicians in your own respective countries to try to implement it. Speaking about history, so the 12th of October was also the day where Columbus discovered America. So I told the journalists that I very much hope that after so many years of suffer, perhaps the 12th of October 2021 will be a beginning of a new discovery of Europe, a new Europe that will be much more friendly toward the needs of the Jewish communities. You know, we just will conclude with something that Henry Ford said once. He said that to gather together, it is a nice beginning. To stay together, it is a progress, but to work together, this is a success. So I thank you all for being here. I hope you will stay here, and I very much hope we'll be able to work together for the success and for the safety and the security of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi Margolin. It's now my distinct pleasure and honor to welcome to speak, ably abetted by our wonderful translator, Mr. Ethan Bergman, the President of the Consistory of France, Paris, Monsieur Joël Mergui. À vous la parole, monsieur.
Alors, je vais parler en français. Hein. C'est étonnant à Bruxelles, mais c'est plus facile pour moi de parler en français ou en hébreu, donc je vais choisir le français puisqu'on est ici. Non, שתי משפטים גם. Je voudrais remercier le Rav Menachem Margolin et l'organisation EJA de nous permettre de nous retrouver.
I would like to thank Mr. Margolin and the EJA for allowing us to be here and present ourselves.
On a eu beaucoup l'occasion de se voir en Zoom ces derniers mois.
We've had many occasions to meet through Zoom in the last few months.
Mais j'ai le magnifique souvenir en janvier 2020
So that I have the wonderful memory of in January
de l'une des rares manifestations qu'on a pu organiser au Centre européen du judaïsme.
to be able to organize a grand manifestation or protest at the European Center of Judaism.
Parce qu'on venait de l'ouvrir et que tout de suite après on a été obligé de le fermer.
Because we just opened it and then directly after we were forced to close it.
Nous étions plusieurs dizaines de leaders juifs d'Europe à réfléchir ensemble.
We were a few dozens, in a few Jewish leaders in Europe thinking together.
Et je voudrais commencer par ce par quoi le Rav Margolin a fini.
And I would like to begin by addressing with what Mr. Margolin has concluded.
Nous avons voulu travailler ensemble,
We wanted to work together.
nous avons commencé à travailler ensemble,
We have started to work together.
et il faut qu'aujourd'hui on prenne l'engagement, au moins pour ceux qui sont là, de continuer à travailler ensemble.
And for the sake of the people that are here, we must continue to work together.
On n'a pas le choix.
We have no choice.
Une grande famille, quand elle est devant des défis,
A big family, when they're confronted with challenges,
on peut avoir des grandes différences,
we can have enormous differences.
comme les enfants de la table du Seder qui vont du Racha au Hacham,
Like the children of the Seder table that will go from the Russia, sorry, again?
du Racha au Hacham.
From the Rasha to the Chacham.
Il n'y a pas de Racha ni de Hacham chez nous, hein.
There is no
Je ne parle
Rasha
pas de
to
nous.
Chacham at our place.
Mais
But
on doit tous se retrouver, être autour de la même table.
we must all gather around the same table.
Je le ressens dans ma responsabilité
I sense it in my own responsibility,
de président du Consistory
the president of the Consistory
de France,
of France,
comme une urgence vitale pour le judaïsme en France et en Europe.
a certain urgency for the vitality of the Jews in Europe.
Je vais donner une image que je donnais à un journaliste tout à l'heure.
I will give forward an image or illustration that I gave.
Vous me direz après si elle correspond à vos images,
And we'll see later if they correspond to your images or illustrations.
puisqu'ici il y a des représentants de différentes communautés, donc des personnes qui sont sur le terrain, actives à voir la réalité quotidienne de la vie juive quotidienne.
We are welcomed and also like hosted by other Jewish community leaders that face these challenges on the ground every day.
Quand on organise, et vous organisez tous, des cérémonies pour le jour de Yom HaShoah, ou pour les moments de commémoration tragiques que nous avons dans notre calendrier,
When we organize commemorations or commemorations for tragic events that have occurred to our people,
on a dans nos synagogues ou dans nos événements tous les élus, tous bords politiques qui viennent nous rendre visite.
we have in our synagogues or in our boardrooms all people from across the biblical world coming to join us in this commemoration.
Ils sont tous contents
They are all
de
happy
venir
to come.
nous soutenir, et c'est normal et c'est important et nous l'apprécions.
They're all happy to come and support us, and we appreciate it.
Mais une semaine après
But a week
Yom
after
HaShoah,
Yom HaShoah
il y a Chag HaAtzmaut.
and Chag HaTzmaut, Yom HaTzmaut,
Vous pouvez compter sur les doigts des mains le nombre d'élus qui étaient là la semaine d'avant et qui reviennent la semaine d'après.
we can count on the number of our fingers the amount of people that were there prior, the week before, and the people that rejoined the week after.
J'ai même décidé pendant 2 années à Paris
I even decided for 2 years in Paris
de ne plus inviter à Yom HaShoah que ceux qui étaient venus à Yom HaAtzmaut.
to only invite the people to Yom HaTzmaut that were there during Yom HaTzmaut.
Et je vous encourage à faire ça,
And I encourage you to
parce qu'on ne peut pas que pleurer avec nous.
and we cannot only
Je voudrais vraiment qu'on soit décomplexé. On ne peut pas être instrumentalisé pour se donner bonne conscience sur l'antisémitisme, la mémoire de la Shoah, et nous laisser nous débrouiller avec tout le reste.
and we can't only be there or we can't only be supported by people that are there to cry with us, but we must also be supported in our struggles and our realities in Europe.
Nous avons des enjeux réels. Et c'est pour cela qu'on doit se renforcer les uns les autres pour que chacun soit plus courageux là où il est.
We have to support one another so that all of us are more courageous in the way we present ourselves.
Quand vous entendez un président, peut-être celui d'une grande communauté comme moi, vous dire ça, j'aimerais que ça donne à chacun des présidents, parce que je ne sous-estime pas le travail même du président d'une toute petite communauté, pour avoir du courage dans sa mission, dans sa communauté.
When we hear these words by community presidents such as Mr. Mergui himself, this has to be resonated with other communities, community leaders throughout Europe.
Notre unité
Our unity
doit faire
must,
que dans nos échanges,
in our exchanges,
nous arrivions à penser qu'une des priorités que nous avons aujourd'hui, bien sûr l'antisémitisme, on doit être vigilant, bien sûr la mémoire de la Shoah, mais c'est de voir comment on fait vivre le judaïsme dans chacune des communautés juives d'Europe.
our unity must be reinforced not only by the way in which we combat anti-Semitism, but by the way in which we look forward together.
C'est un enjeu majeur. Parce que dans chacune de vos communautés, il y a une partie de la communauté qui est partie en Israël ou qui est partie ailleurs.
In every one of our communities, there are members that have decided to leave for Israel and abroad.
Il y a peu de communautés qui sont amenées à grandir.
There are very few communities that are actually able to grow.
Et j'avais dit, et je voudrais que ce soit notre combat, le combat de chacune de nos communautés.
And I said before, and I will say again, that this is a combat that we must all face together as communities.
J'avais dit au moment où, où en France, on a vécu la vague de Aliyah la plus grande, avec plusieurs dizaines de milliers de Juifs qui ont quitté la France en 20 ou 30 ans.
I have said this when tens of thousands of Jews of France decided to leave during the terror attacks.
J'avais dit parce que les Juifs s'en vont,
And I said this because when Jews left,
nous serons encore plus nombreux dans nos synagogues.
we will be even more numerous in our synagogues.
C'est notre défi.
It is our
Mes
challenge.
chers amis, c'est notre défi. C'est le défi de chacune et chacun d'entre vous.
Our dear friends, it is our challenge. It's the challenge of every single one of us.
Parce qu'il y a ceux qui s'en vont, qui sont une partie de nos communautés,
Because there are people that leave, but that are part of our community.
mais il y a ceux qui risquent de partir dans l'assimilation, qui sont une grande partie de notre communauté.
And still, there are people from our community that might risk to enter into assimilation.
Et si on n'a pas un combat pour que ceux qui sont en train de disparaître dans l'assimilation en France et en Europe, si on n'a pas un combat envers eux, on aura tout perdu. Et on aura failli à notre mission.
And if we don't combat people from our communities that assimilate, we will have failed our mission.
Et ce combat, il nécessite qu'on soit les uns à côté des autres, qu'on fasse des échanges entre nos communautés, qu'on fasse des échanges d'expériences, qu'on travaille l'éducation, qu'on se batte les uns avec les autres ensemble pour réussir à ce que la transmission du judaïsme puisse se faire dans chacune des communautés d'Europe.
And this combat requires unity in the way that we act together, because only this, our unity, will be able to strengthen our communities and bring forward the Jewish life in Europe.
Alors pour cela, on a demandé, chacun à sa façon, aux différentes mairies, aux différents gouvernements, à l'Europe, de nous aider.
And for this reason, we have asked people from different governments, European institutions, to aid us.
On doit continuer à le faire.
We must continue doing such.
Je sais que dans quelques minutes, on va entendre le président de l'État d'Israël.
I know that in a couple of minutes we will hear from the President of the State of Israel.
Je suis un amoureux d'Israël, je suis sioniste et j'ai une grande partie de mes enfants en Israël.
I'm a lover of Israel, I'm a Zionist, and I have many of my children living in Israel.
Ça n'exclut pas le fait que je dis qu'Israël a une responsabilité aussi avec le judaïsme de diaspora.
And it doesn't exclude the fact that Israel has a responsibility in maintaining and promoting Judaism in the diaspora.
Elle n'a pas la responsabilité que de nous protéger dans nos synagogues,
And not
elle a la responsabilité aussi de faire en sorte que nous puissions avoir des moyens pour transmettre du judaïsme dans nos communautés.
The State of Israel must ensure that it doesn't only keep security in our synagogue, but that we're also able to transcend and promote Judaism in our communities.
Depuis la création de l'État d'Israël jusqu'à une quinzaine d'années, je ne pensais pas pareil.
Since the creation of the State of Israel,
Enfin, la création de l'État d'Israël, je n'étais pas là, hein, mais enfin,
since the creation of the State of Israel until about 15 years ago, I decided to think this way. I wasn't
je pensais
there.
que c'était le rôle de la diaspora d'aider Israël. Et je le pense encore.
I thought it was the role of the diaspora to aid Israel, and I still believe that such.
Mais à partir du moment où aujourd'hui on arrive à ce que la moitié des Juifs du monde vivent en Israël et à ce qu'une grande partie des Juifs d'Europe sont allés en Israël,
But now we have reached a moment where majority of the world Jews live in Israel, and about half of the world, Europe Jews live in Israel as well.
je pense que la responsabilité, elle est en train de s'inverser.
I think that this responsibility is inversing itself,
Parce que les Juifs qui sont en train de s'assimiler
because the Jews that are assimilating themselves
en Espagne, en Italie, en France, au Portugal ou dans n'importe lequel des différents pays qui sont sous nos responsabilités,
in Spain, in Italy, in France, or any other country that are under our jurisdiction and responsibility,
ils seront perdus pour tout le monde.
they will be lost for everyone.
Par contre, si on a des vrais programmes soutenus par Israël et soutenus par l'Europe,
But if we have real programs that are supported by Israel, supported by Europe,
chaque Juif qui sera récupéré dans nos communautés,
every Jew that will be brought back into the community,
Ça sera un enrichissement pour le judaïsme d'Europe
It will be an enrichment for the Judaism of Europe
et une chance pour l'avenir d'Israël.
and a chance for the future of Israel.
Alors voilà sur tout ça. Les programmes sont grands. Nous avons beaucoup de travail.
So regarding this, the programs are big. And we
Quand on
have
prend
a lot
la
of work to do.
responsabilité d'une communauté, on sait qu'il y a le travail quotidien,
We know as communities that we have to work every day,
mais il y a surtout la vision sur le long terme.
but there is also the vision on the long term.
Alors j'espère que l'année prochaine, l'année d'après, on verra ensemble des résultats concrets à tout le travail que nous faisons depuis des années et qui s'enrichit et qui continuera à s'enrichir avec l'aide effectivement de Menachem Margolin, de son organisation, mais avec l'aide du travail de chacun. Merci beaucoup.
So I hope that this year, the year after, and the year after, with the help of the EJA and with Mr. Margolin, we'll be able to see the fruits of our labor and finally see what work has been done and has contributed to European life, the Jewish life in Europe. Thank you
Et
very
où
much.
que vous soyez,
And wherever you may be,
quel que soit l'endroit où vous irez,
in whichever place you may go,
après tous les grands débats qu'on a vus sur toutes les religions ces dernières décennies,
after all the great debates that we've had about religions over the last decennia,
restez fiers du drapeau juif que nous portons.
stay proud of the Jewish flag that we all wear.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Absolutely incredible speech as always. Thank you, Ethan, as well for doing the translation. As Mr. Mergui just said, it's now my honor to have us address this gathering by the President of Israel, His Excellency, Mr. Yitzhak Herzog.
Parliament towards Jewish history, of ancient history,
Oh.
the history of the Holocaust, Israel, and as well as the history of religions. And obviously, the Hungarian Jewish folk will be the Hungarian national history.
Thanks for your patience.
This is our story, and I just want to show you another slide, please.
No problem. It's coming. Okay, Misha, would you need another minute?
Members of the European Parliament, diplomats, leaders of Jewish communities and organizations from all around Europe and the world. It is a great pleasure for me to wish you and the European Jewish Association a very happy, healthy, and peaceful New Year. This past year has not been easy. The coronavirus presented unprecedented challenges to Jewish community life. At the same time, the plague of anti-Semitism continued to spread on the streets, online, and even in the halls of power. We continue to see threats to Jewish religious and cultural life in Europe, including calls, legislation, and judgments that support a ban on Jewish circumcision and production of kosher meat. In the face of these challenges, the European Jewish Association fills an essential role, working in conjunction with European institutions, the Parliament, and regional and national parliaments, combating anti-Semitism in all its forms, including anti-Zionism, empowering Jewish communities, and strengthening Jewish life all across the continent. I urge you to continue to use every relevant tool at your disposal, from legislation to law enforcement, from education to activism, in order to ensure that Jews across Europe and around the world are able to live open, proud, and secure Jewish lives. Please know that the State of Israel is your home away from home and is always by your side. I thank you, dear members of the European Jewish Association. I thank you, leaders, partners, and friends, for all that you do for the Jewish people in the State of Israel. And I wish you a very happy and sweet New Year. Shana Tova u'metuka.
We'll pass on the best wishes of everyone at conference to the President of Israel. And passing from the President of Israel to the President of a Jewish community of Brussels and of a great synagogue of Europe, it's my pleasure and honor to welcome Maître Philippe Markowitz to address this gathering. Thank you. Maître Markowitz, à vous la parole.